Hi there, and welcome to a very different kind of video. If you ask me what kind of videos I enjoy making the least, you'd get a very quick reply from me: the negative ones. It's not about the actual workload, but they're just exhausting to make, publish, and then read comments on for years to come. I love your comments, keep them coming, but I think you know what I mean. I'll be the first to admit that sometimes there is a somewhat satisfying stick-it-to-'em vibe in the video, and sometimes it's just 14 minutes of, why am I watching this? In the interest of not suppressing a bad video, today's was meant to be from the Sunscape Dominicus in La Romana near Punta Cana, which you're seeing clips from now. It had a horrible score, mostly on account of truly horrendous service. This is a Hyatt brand hotel with front desk staff that didn't know what Hyatt was. I had servers at dinner who fought over who was supposed to serve me. I had a manager call me and demand at 9 p.m. that I provide proof that I paid them even though they literally charged me when I arrived. Yes, it was a doozy. I didn't finish the video, but it's assembled, the script was written, and I simply didn't want to devote 14 minutes on my channel to it. Sometimes inexperience just needs to be put to rest. I recently posted my video of the Datai Langkawi, a video that received a perfect 100 out of 100, and I misspoke in the video, something I realized, of course, the day after. I mentioned that at the time it was my 6th ever perfect score, but it was actually the 7th. Whoops. That gave me an idea. I'm going to do the absolute opposite of post a negative, slightly boring video today. I'm going to post a marathon of my now 8 videos with a perfect score. And so that's what this video is. Nothing less, nothing more. I'll overlay the original published date of each video on them, we'll play them in chronological order, and we'll list the price paid along with their links to each video in the description. We are starting off, of course, with the Uma Ubud in Bali. My first ever perfect score, and also my 100th video. I'm happy to say that in that video, I described what I realized a perfect property or flight actually was, and until now, I still believe it to be completely true. So enjoy a couple of hours of pure perfection and positivity. I really don't take the word perfection lightly, but this slice of paradise has earned it. Hi there, my name is Kevin and I make honest, unsponsored, and to the point narrated video tours about resorts and flights all over the world. Incredibly, this is my 100th video, and today we're at the intimate Uma Ubud in Bali. Please stick around, this is a really special one. Welcome to Ubud. As we drive past the rice paddies through town to get to the Uma, feel free to check out the description below to see the exact rate that I paid, as well as my next 5 videos in queue. As you may have noticed, I rated this resort a perfect 100 out of 100, the first time that I've ever done so. Please note that I chose the 100th video slot for this review after I determined the score, not the other way around. As always, today I'm going to give you a full tour calling out all of the details as I usually do, but my full explanation about what I consider perfection, I'm going to save that for a separate tag-on video, a platform that I think is more appropriate so that I don't clog up this entire review explaining the score. Let's just say, long story short, perfection for me is when a resort, hotel, or airline lives up to the experience that they try to portray and sell. To me, a 3-star $50 hotel could be just as likely as a 5-star $800 room to be perfect. It's all a matter of selling the right image and then executing that image with precision. As we begin the tour, I will humbly ask you to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you stay up to date on my full 9-part Bali series. I'm always all ears if you should have any suggestions to improve my content, and a link to my new Patreon is in the description below. As always, I thank you for all that you do. The Uma is sort of hidden in plain sight. It's on a relatively busy road a few minutes drive from the center of Ubud, but once you pass through the open-air reception desk, you feel like you're a world away. Something tells me that was the intent. The reception area is basic, I think, for a couple of reasons. First of all, Before you arrive, they'll reach out to you to confirm some details, which I'll explain in a bit. When you're checking in, they'll offer you your welcome drink in your room if you'd rather have it there. The reception area was a hub of activity, but not quite in the traditional hotel sense. Walking towards the pool, we have a small sundry shop on the left. Como is a small high-end hotel group that offers personalized luxury experiences at their 15 hotels and resorts around the world, with their largest presence in South Asia, followed by Europe, the Caribbean, and the South Pacific. In their own words, at Como the focus is always on service wellness and cuisine, while trying to uphold a strong sustainable approach towards the people and places where they operate. I'll be honest, many resorts in Bali claim to be laid out in a way that emulates a traditional Balinese village. Here though, it's the first time that it really does feel the case. There are property constraints here, as in it's not a massive sprawling property, but they've used that to their advantage. Throughout the resort, you'll see narrow pathways, dark stone, high walls, and lush landscaping. The first three of those would normally seem like a pretty silly idea for a resort, but in reality, it's this mildly haphazard, closed-in feeling that helps the resort achieve a level of intimacy that's pretty hard to match. Let's take a closer look at where we are. Ubud is in the dense tropical forest that lays at the base of Bali's northern volcanoes. The Como Uma is around a 90-minute drive from the airport and perched up on a cliff above one of the countless rivers in the area, and is in the shape of Texas, should Dallas and Houston ever fall off. My time in Ubud, here and at some other properties, was full of unseasonal rain, which is why you'll see all of the pool furniture and loungers covered up at the moment. Soon after, they were uncovered and set up, only for the rain to begin again. The structure in front of us houses the Uma Bar on the ground floor, which is also the all-day dining venue with an expansive yoga pavilion above it. Throughout the day, and I mean that literally, the Uma Bar was always buzzing with activity, with groups of friends and couples alike meeting up for a chat. Upstairs, this isn't quite a critique, but personally, I'd prefer that such a beautiful space with these views be used for something a bit more substantial than twice daily free yoga sessions. But it is on brand, I'll give them that. I was also lucky enough to catch one of the staff beginning the hotel's morning ritual of placing offerings and incense at each guest's room. A touch that I haven't seen at any other resorts on this trip, and one that I think really grounds the experience in Balinese culture. Visually, I think this is still one of the most beautiful clips of my entire Bali trip. As we take a walk to my favorite spot on the property, let me point out that while there were plenty of rooms that were easily accessible without stairs, most rooms do involve some stairs, as does getting to the breakfast restaurant or the spa. Built in 2004 with 46 rooms and villas in total, the Como Uma has what I'm going to call a lived-in but loved feel to it. The moss on the ledges, the vines climbing the walls, act as the resort's patina of sorts, and rather than feeling dated, it just feels cozy, as if someone has spent the last 18 years preparing everything for your arrival today. Here we are at one of the resort's shrines, one of 3 that I counted. When here, or anywhere in Bali for that matter, watch your path and make sure that you never step on the offerings that are laid out. I love this space as it's one of the places on property where guests that haven't splashed out on the beautiful pool villas can watch the morning fog move through the valley. As we explore and take a walk to the spa, let me begin to talk about the service. I booked this stay through Hotels.com, which is part of Expedia. Some hotels on their websites are considered VIP properties, which among other things enable you to a possible room upgrade subject to availability. But these are not like MAD-MEX upgrades. Sometimes they happen, often they don't. A few days after I made the booking, I received a note from the hotel detailing the room that I had booked, as well as the next category of room that I was eligible to upgrade to, and then they allowed me to choose. I actually chose the original room, but talk about a really clever way of managing expectations. Proactive steps like this, which some hotels try to do but they just seem to clutter up the experience, are what sets the service apart here. More to come on that, but for now, the spa. Let's take a look around the facilities, which I promise you are only enhanced with the rain. The treatment rooms have thatched roofs, and the sound of the rain was the best soundtrack I could have asked for. Como puts a huge emphasis on wellness, and for them, this includes both the spa and the cuisine on offer. The truth is, generally when a small hotel starts using lofty phrases like, our custom-designed food concept, or wellness is at the heart of our experience, they're just setting themselves up to have some mildly disappointed guests. But not here. My room rate included a 60-minute massage. It was specified on the booking as their signature Shambhala massage, but when I arrived to the spa, they also offered me alternatives should I want to change. I didn't, and it was the best decision I think I've ever made. The experience began with a humble glass of chilled water. There are a couple of reasons why I generally do not include spas in my video tours, which I'll get into in that tag on video later. But I do use them fairly often. I've had my fair share of massages, but this one was the best massage I've ever had. Without trying to sound like an absolute snob, it was a rhythm and pattern that I'd never even experienced before. And at least among the massages that I've had, it was a novel and really well executed approach. It was so good that when I was having the massage, I was trying to justify in my mind why it would be worth it to have another massage the next day. When I was done, I think I text just about everyone I know that might possibly, like a 1% chance, visit Bali in the near future, that they need to get here for a massage, if nothing else. Now, we're taking a walk through some of the gardens to my room. Let me touch again on the service. As many of you know already, I'm not a fan of high-touch service. My personal view is that there are so many moving pieces necessary for high-touch personalized service that it rarely comes off as natural. Whoever is providing that service needs to recognize you by name, to know your preferences, to know your room number, to know your checkout date. It's a lot of info to get out of someone without just sounding like you have a laundry list of questions. And it's those awkward moments that I just don't enjoy. Feels too forced and scripted for me. Here, it's so different and graceful that when I realized what had just happened, I couldn't help but smile. Let me give you the example. When I went to the bar for dinner, I was greeted as I walked in and offered a seat at the bar. A few seconds later, the server came with a place setting for me and casually confirmed that I was coming from room 7. He disappeared for a few moments and returned with the menu, offering it to me as he used my name and briefly mentioning a few highlights of the menu, noting that I had just checked in today. The bar was pretty busy at that time, and I was impressed. I then noticed that as he set my table, he repositioned my key, a real key with a wooden keychain, to be able to see the room number. Then as he went to get the menu, surely he looked up my information. Hospitality workers are not magicians. What he did takes years of experience to know which cues to pick up on. And it's service steps like he provided that night that overall defined the service throughout my stay. A stay that I genuinely wish was about a week longer. For my stay, I had what they referred to as a King Ubud room, the only category of room that is not on the ground floor. These rooms were absolutely pristine. I'm not exaggerating. There was not a scratch, a scuff, a smudge, a scent, or a speck of dust anywhere to be found. It was remarkably clean and easily the highest housekeeping standards I've ever seen. The rooms were light and airy, but not in a cliche all-white, fresh as a daisy kind of way. These rooms still felt warm and cozy despite the scaled-back color palette. Everything you'd need, from labeled light switches, to well-placed outlets, to Bluetooth speakers, bug spray, incense oils, yoga mats, hand sanitizer. It was all conveniently tucked away in exactly the spot you'd need it to be. The minibar was flawless, even matching the Nespresso pods to the colors of the hotel's logo. Along with the fully stocked minibar selection was a small fruit basket, as well as the orange and lemongrass fizz that was brought to my room about 10 minutes after check-in as my welcome drink. Across from the minibar is a convenient spot for your keys, wallets, and such. The large closet was semi-closed off with a moving mirror panel that kept everything looking more tidy. The bathroom was well-sized and well-outfitted with their own signature products and all of the other standard amenities that you'd expect in a high-end boutique hotel. The shower and toilet room were spacious, and they were closed off from the closet with beautifully crafted woven panels. Note that both the minibar entry area as well as the closet and bathroom area can be closed off with proper pocket doors. All that's left is the outdoor balcony, which is well-sized and well-equipped, and let me just note, I couldn't even find a smidgen of dust out here, and at this point I was looking. The balcony was equipped with a comfortable daybed and a nice table and chairs with a candle which was lit for you during turn-down service. There are also some bamboo shades should you need to block out the sun. Let me just point out a few details of the room that I really loved. While I can't say for sure all of the furniture at the resort was custom, I can say that it was all incredibly well crafted. The floors were smooth as glass, grounded the color palette of the entire room. The doors and whitewashed wood throughout the room was not just some cheap big box quality. The smallwares were all beautifully and well curated to coordinate but not feel matchy. The woven panels really were stunning. And last but not least, a glass doorknob that caught and kept my attention. Let's move on to the restaurants on offer. The week that I was here, their flagship restaurant, Uma Cucina, was participating in Ubud Food Week, which, while I'm sure it would have been spectacular, was featuring a pop-up collaboration that I didn't really consider to be part of the standard food program, which is why I opted to eat at the bar. But as good as the food was in general, I look forward to visiting Uma Cucina on my next trip to Ubud. By the way, the menu I showed is their standard menu. The bar menu is an elevated poolside menu with standard bits that you'd expect, as well as a few elevated surprises. I started off with a mango mule, which I followed with the lemon aioli calamari, and then the grouper in a light curry broth with marrow squash, long beans, and green chili. The grouper was the highlight of the meal and was light and refreshing, which is exactly what I was looking for a couple hours after that massage. Soon, the resort would go to sleep, and so did I. The next morning, before breakfast, I went around for a bit of a stroll to check out the organic garden that they have, which, considering the size of the property, is a significant chunk of a garden. Then a bit of a rolling fog to get the appetite going before heading to Kamiri for a showstopper of a breakfast. The open-air pavilion is inviting and beautifully set up for the morning's offering. The menu here was fully a la carte, which I think is the correct choice for a resort like this. I did make one mistake though. I was at the Alila prior to this, where they had a similar concept, but their dishes were all tasting portions, and they encouraged you to order 3 or 4. When ordering, I asked if the portions were full or smaller. I was told smaller. Perhaps we have a different definition of what smaller means. But yeah, I ordered way too much, but the size aside, it was the best breakfast I've had this year. I started off with zucchini and halloumi fritters topped with smoked salmon and garlic lebne, a combination that no matter where in the world I was, I wouldn't be able to pass up. It was far better than I expected, and my expectations were pretty high. Next up was a simple but very well executed Eggs Benedict. Also available were a variety of breads, yogurts, and parfaits. And then finished up with just a little bit of cinnamon-scented roasted coconut and mango French toast. I mean, come on. I regret nothing. Last up, there's a small fitness center nestled near the pool. And that's all there is to say. If I'm honest, writing scripts are actually my least favorite part of my editing process. But I'm a little bit bummed out that there's nothing more to write about. If you'd like to know more about this property and my thoughts about achieving perfection in the industry these days in general, please look out for that other video probably later this month. So, clearly, I'm in love with this place. Please go here. Don't argue, just go here. I'm thrilled to have 14 other Comos that are now all on my list. Now onto the flip-flop score. No surprises here. Actually, if you're surprised by something here, you probably haven't been paying attention. If you enjoyed this video, gave it a thumbs up, or subscribed because of it, a very sincere thank you from me, and I hope to see you next time at Six Senses Uluwatu. The EVA 787 long-haul experience is my new, best business class. It is simply spectacular. Hi there, my name is Kevin. This channel came from a love of traveling, a love of the full process and the journey itself. I feature airline trip reports and high-end hotel reviews from all over the world. My reviews aren't sponsored by airlines or hotels, so you can be sure to get my unbiased, honest opinion. Am I an expert? That's for you to decide. Am I fair? Yeah, I am. Let's get into it. Welcome to Vienna. I just landed on my flight from New York on Austrian, and my bags never made it onto that flight. So while you head down to the description to check out what I paid for this flight, or what my next 5 videos are in queue, I'm gonna go and try to find some answers. So, it's not that Austrian's ground staff are bad, it's that they don't exist. After walking around for about 30 minutes trying to find someone that actually worked for the airline, I gave up and I headed to the lounge. So I had 4 hours in the lounge here. It was clean and had a high quality but small selection of breakfast items. I know this isn't Austrian's flagship lounge, but I was told that this is the one that I should be visiting based on my departure gate. There was an element of the lounge though that did give you an IKEA kids section vibe though. Luckily, I did find a very helpful member of staff. I explained my situation, that I knew my bags were still in New York, and just asked if she could see if there's an update or routing information for the bags. I don't speak German, but the conversation that she had on the phone with the other agent didn't exactly sound hopeful. Some more of that blunt honesty that I do appreciate, and she told me that no, 1/3 of the bags were not loaded onto that flight. Rather, almost none were on the flight. Specifically, she said that one half-full luggage container was on the flight. That's it. She asked me if there was bad weather. I said that it was really cold, but it was crystal clear and actually pretty beautiful. She said Ops was blaming the weather, and that the only thing that I could do now was put in a claim at my final destination, since, as I knew already, the luggage is now the responsibility of the final carrier at this point. Enough of that though, let's get into this amazing flight. EVA Air, a bit redundant since EVA stands for Evergreen Airways, is a Taiwan-based carrier owned by Evergreen Shipping, and began flying in 1991. They currently have 83 aircraft in their fleet, more than 3/4 of them being wide-body, with 17 more on order. They serve 62 destinations from their hub in Taipei and a smaller focus city in Bangkok, serving an impressive 8 North American cities. Interesting fact, Vienna was actually the first European route for EVA. The Bangkok routes were originally necessary prior to the time when EVA was permitted to fly through mainland Chinese airspace. They only began their mainland China flights in 2008. Boarding began right on time, and I appreciate that when I checked in to get a new boarding pass at the gate, there was a member of staff that proactively came over to me when he heard my name and gave me an update about my luggage, confirming it was still in New York, but he was hopeful that it would be put directly onto the Taipei flight leaving from New York that evening. That didn't turn out to be the case, but the simple fact that I knew someone was on top of it, or at least cared about it, gave me peace of mind for the rest of my journey. As for today's flight stats, we pushed back 7 minutes late and cruised near 600 knots for almost 11 hours, as we took the long way to Taipei, but landed 37 minutes early. Stepping on board, I was warmly welcomed by a gaggle of crew, and turning left was almost like stepping into a business class cabin for the first time. It was just so damn sleek and absolutely pristine. This aircraft was 4 years old, but if you told me it rolled off the line yesterday, I would have completely believed you. In 2015, EVA ordered 787-9 and -10 variants, and introduced them along with today's new business class product prior to COVID. Let's take a closer look at the layout. This seat, the Vantage XL, is used by many carriers, but I've never seen it executed this well. Laid out in a single cabin in a 1-2-1 configuration, there are a total of 26 seats. Make sure to pick one of the rows that has seats closer to the window. Row 2 and 5 are the best, as row 7 is missing a window. Measurements across the board are above average, and both the seat and the flatbed feel more spacious than normal. This is an example of the seat further from the window. Note that these seats do have a little bit more storage next to your leg. If the seats look extra stylish to you, well, that's because they are. They were designed by BMW's Design Works, and it's a beautiful mix of that stark but luxurious German aesthetic, but with a distinctly EVA touch. It's just really tasteful and well thought out. Just a friendly reminder that not only was this flight 100% self-funded, but EVA had absolutely no idea I'd be on this flight, or who I am for that matter. In a world where content creators are recognized on the street or in planes every day, I still maintain that I think the only way to give a true unbiased review is to fly anonymously. And so I really do appreciate every like, comment, subscription, or even just a glance at my Patreon. as they all really do contribute to growing the channel and keeping this honest content flowing. A big thanks in advance for watching today. To the sides of your seat is a closable storage area which houses your headphones, amenity kit, and a bottle of water upon boarding. Just in front of that is a newer generation IFE remote, universal outlet, and USB port, and nicely laid out seat controls. There's also another set of controls for easy reach when you're reclined. Loads of legroom too, and I enjoy the angled floor here, which is comfortable as a footrest if you're taller. We've got quite the set of amenities to check out, which we'll do a bit after takeoff. Pre-departure drinks were passed out, along with an alcohol wipe and a wet towel. I actually really enjoy these wet towels. They're pre-packaged, but they are actual real towels. The fog was relentless today, and the very clever safety video began to roll. If you don't want to look at your neighbor's knees, you can adjust your privacy screen as well. Oh, the sun, oh no. We taxied to the runway and lined up for what turned out to be a beautiful takeoff. I promise, it seems like only the airport was in the fog. Spool up and airport stats are also coming up now. Avoiding Russian and most of mainland Chinese airspace really does tack on quite a bit of distance to this flight though. Still a very easy day for a 787-9 though. Let's check out some of the amenities. First up, some really high quality headphones. A bit heavy, but they certainly live up to their name. The tray table popped out like so, and with a little diagram in case you get confused. Plenty sturdy and big for dining or working, or maybe a little bit of both. The now quite famous Jason Wu design pajamas were indeed as well made and comfortable as every other creator has claimed, and these were the best slippers that I've ever received on a plane. Open toe means big feet are welcome. Loved these. The pillow covering wasn't the softest thing on earth, but it was a very firm and comfortable pillow for sleeping. A true high quality down pillow. The blanket was one of the best that I've had in the air. Honestly, just looking at it now makes me want to take a nap. And then there's the amenity kit. Let me tell you, when it comes to amenity kits, EVA does not play. I don't think I know of any other airline that gives amenity kits that come in dust bags in business class. The contents were just as impressive and thoughtful, little things like that lens cleaner. There was also a separate smaller pouch inside just for the Ferragamo cosmetics. EVA puts a lot of marketing into the fact that they're flying 787s, and personally, I don't think it's necessary, but it is still kind of cool. As drinks were delivered and set up, today's amuse was served. Here's the full menu for today's flight. Note that the prices on the wine list are my addition to give you an idea of the current retail prices in USD. As always, I'm keeping up my reputation, and I inadvertently chose the cheapest wine on the menu, but it was still enjoyable. Place settings were served off of a cart, and I'll note that the attention to detail from all of the crew on this flight was next level, perhaps only second to my experience on Oman Air. While there's technically only one choice for starters, there's also soup and salad. And when it's this good, you don't mind having a single choice. We had a river crab meat and avocado salad with chive oil. As soon as I was done filming it, the flight attendant, who I didn't even notice, asked if I'd like the chive oil poured. This was one of those lick your plate clean category dishes. Next up was a caramelized pea soup with crispy prosciutto. It could have been a touch hotter, but it was delicious. The salad course was up next. I did a double take when it came out and it was put down, thinking that a lot of the lettuce was near brown, but no, that was just the dressing. And I do appreciate that it was plated after being dressed. But next up was the absolute star of the show. EVA has a little-known program similar to Singapore Airlines' Book the Cook, where you can select from a few dishes online before your flight. I had a choice of an additional 4 dishes online. I chose the classic pork medallions, served with potato souffle, creamed carrots, and fresh asparagus. This was easily the best Western comfort food dish that I've ever had in the air, and probably top 10 that I've had of this kind of food, period. It was absolutely spectacular. With each bite, I really did have to remind myself that this is real, it was that good. For dessert, we had a trio of coconut milk ice cream, a Mozart tartlet, and fresh fruit. There was also a cheese plate available, but I gotta draw the line somewhere. This is what those prepackaged towels actually look like. After lunch, I guess it was, the flight attendants offered to turn down the beds completely, but I just asked for them to put the mattress cover on and leave the seat upright. It's more of a seat cover than a mattress pad, and the vast majority of them are these days, but I do really appreciate that this one was actually wide enough to cover the entire seat, and it was finished very nicely too. The edges trimmed in the same pattern as the blanket. I made up my bed later on, and here's what it looked like. The bathrooms were absolutely spotless throughout the flight and had premium products on offer. After that, we were, let's say, encouraged to begin converting to nighttime. A quick look at the entertainment system shows a decent selection of movies, but it could be a little bit more comprehensive considering how many long-haul routes that they do have. A few hours of rest later, and it was already time for breakfast. I, of course, started with coffee, which was surprisingly really good, and I love the cup. I can't stand tiny little airline coffee mugs that fit like 3 sips. This was a proper and comfortable mug. Breakfast started off with a fruit plate, yogurt with granola, buckwheat muesli, which was really delicious, and some bakery items. Let me just mention, when you start to fly a lot of different airlines, you can quickly see how some airlines save pennies here and there. So when I see something like French butter on this tray, a very specific brand, and I know that's the only brand that the airline uses, I appreciate touches like that. Last up was a choice of crunchy French toast with apricot ragout and mascarpone, or poached eggs with hollandaise and sautéed spinach. Of course I went for the eggs, and brace yourselves, you may be as shocked as I was to know that these eggs were hot and still had a runny yolk. I don't think I've ever had a proper runny yolk on a plane before. If I had to complain about one small thing, it's that these 787s feature the new darker windows that truly do black out the sun. That's great, but two things. First, it takes a solid 5 minutes for the tint to completely fade, and second, even 10 minutes before landing, a morning landing, the windows were still locked. 2 minutes later they unlocked them and it started the transition. Unlocked just in time for a bit of a peek of the Taiwanese countryside as the sun begins to rise. I'll be the first to admit, it's hard to do flights like these justice in video form. The differences between a 92 or a 95, or especially between a 98 and a 100, you can't really see that. Anything I give a 92 or higher to is a fantastic product for the price. Above 95 is truly exceptional, usually because of great service. And these highest scores I reserve for when the hard product and the soft product are equally spectacular. For this flight specifically, the thing that bumped it up from its original score of 98 to 100 was actually the gate agent, who sought me out to give me an update about my luggage. He didn't have to do that, but it was immensely appreciated. I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please subscribe so that you can see my final leg of this trip on an EVA 777 from Taipei to Saigon. Thanks again for clicking that thumbs up button. Government-owned and fantastic airline are not two phrases that often go together, but China Airlines is bucking that stereotype. We've got a full trip report for a great little flight today, so let's get into it. Welcome to Taipei. If you would like to know the exact fare that I paid for my flight today, or my next 5 videos in queue, please check out the description below. And if you're new here, hi there and welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin. I think that the world needs a bit more honest travel content these days, so I make airline trip reports, high-end hotel reviews, and cruise ship tours as well, all without invitation. I always film without the company's knowledge, and I self-fund my trips to be sure that I get a real experience. Then I give you nothing more than my own personal, honest, unbiased opinion. Can I just preface this entire trip report and get straight to the point for a moment? Flying business class and first class is, of course, fantastic. But some of the most refreshing experiences that I've had in the air have been short flights in economy. Why? Because you can't imagine much that could actually be different. How good could the seat be? How amazing can a basic economy meal taste? How much attention could you possibly get in economy on a 3-hour flight? They're all reasonable questions, and they're precisely why this is my 3rd ever perfect score on the channel. There is quite simply nothing to fault. Right now, we are at Taipei's Taoyuan International Airport, not to be confused with the city center smaller sibling, Taipei Songshan Airport. Where we are now is the primary hub for China Airlines as well as EVA Air and Starlux, the 3 of them together making Taipei one of the most comfortable places to fly from on Earth. For check-in today, I was at the Sky Priority lane due to Elite Plus status, though the economy line wasn't too long at all. When checking in, as I often do, I asked if there were any cash upgrades available, and there were. To Premium Economy, the price was $380. Which has to be the single most overpriced cash upgrade that I think I've heard in quite some time. Anyway, as we head through immigration and make our way to the departures hall, let me please note one thing. Part of the reason why I got such great service today was because of Elite Plus status. Some would argue that alone means giving them such a high score isn't fair. Let me explain why I disagree. My SkyTeam status is with ITA Airways. I've never flown with them. They gave me a status match from my Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer Gold status. My KrisFlyer Gold status wasn't actually from flying though. During COVID, they had a promotion to give you gold status if you transferred 250,000 points to them. Those 250,000 points I earned from bonuses for signing up for 2 credit cards. So my point being, many people could potentially have the same thing and enjoy the same service levels. It's not like I spent $40,000 on flights just to reach that status level. Anyways, let's head to the China Airlines business class lounge for a bit. The lounge itself is beautiful and ironically enough reminds me of the hotel from my last video, Hotel Proverbs in Taipei. There's plenty of comfortable seating inside and a great selection of food, including a noodle bar, which is hands down better than Cathay's. The only thing the lounge is missing is a view. So, China Airlines is a state-owned carrier and also owns Mandarin Airlines and Tiger Air Taiwan. They had their first flight in the early 1960s and soon expanded internationally to Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Japan, connecting via Tokyo to their first intercontinental destination, San Francisco, in 1970. The arrival of 747s in the years following allowed them to rapidly continue expansion until diplomatic strains meant that they needed to begin being creative with their routes and their airline itself. The first of those creative moves was negotiating with Japan to allow China Airlines to fly to Tokyo's Haneda Airport so that their aircraft would never cross paths with mainland carrier aircraft at Tokyo Narita. Over the years, many airlines created separate subsidiaries specifically for flying to Taipei. One of the few that you'll still see flying out there today is dressed in KLM colors, with KLM Asia written on the side and the tail of the aircraft, as opposed to KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. The latter being the flag carrier of the Netherlands. The former, technically, is not. Mandarin Airlines was established in the 1990s for mostly the same purposes, allowing China Airlines to access markets like Sydney and Vancouver without added tension. May we just pause for a moment to admire the cutest airport escalator that I think I've ever seen. Some years later, the Plum Blossom logo replaced the original flag displayed on their aircraft tails, and in 2003, they had their first cross-straits flight from Taipei to Shanghai via Hong Kong, with the first non-stop flight beginning in 2005 from Taipei to Beijing. In 2010, they joined the SkyTeam Alliance and currently fly to an impressive 118 destinations with their fleet of 84 aircraft, 21 of which are cargo only. They are the 10th largest cargo airline in the world by freight revenue ton kilometer. Currently, they have 41 more passenger aircraft on order, more than half of which are Boeing 787s, which are meant to replace their aging A330 fleet. I arrived at the gate only to find a really not fantastic view of our A350. So I headed over to another gate to try to get a better view and bought some obligatory mango tarts along the way. Liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and then actually watching videos in the future, those are the 3 easiest ways that you can tell YouTube that this video is worth your time. It helps the algorithm immensely. If you'd like to support the channel even further than that, my Patreon is also linked in the description below. A big thanks for watching and supporting today. The view from over here is a little bit better, but still not great. In general, plane spotting at this airport, unfortunately, isn't that great. From Terminal 1, where we are now, the windows have these muddy tints on them, and the aircraft are just too close to get good shots. Even over at Terminal 2, the views are better, but they have these crazy blue tints on the windows. Anyway, back to the gate now. Boarding would begin around 10 minutes late, which they apologize for around 10 times. Let's check out today's flight stats. We actually ended up departing a few minutes early and spent just over 3 hours in the air, arriving in Saigon 14 minutes ahead of schedule. Stepping on board, I was greeted by name and welcomed aboard, passing through the premium economy cabin on the way to economy. Note that China Airlines is one of the few airlines to offer premium economy in a 232 pattern on the A350. Standard would be 242. I made my way to my seat, which would be 45 Alpha for today. Honestly, I think China Airlines has one of the best looking economy cabins out there. From the seats, to the carpets, to the upholstery, to the lighting, it's just all very, very handsome and inviting. Obviously, this is a long-haul product, which the airline uses near exclusively on their twice-daily flights to Saigon. Each seat has an adjustable headrest, ample padding, and a good amount of legroom. I'd say right around 32 inches of pitch today. As you take a look at the rest of the seat details, let me set the tone for the service on board. And I'll mention quickly that this was done for me, but I also saw it happen to 4 other elite passengers around me. It's not that I was found out or received some super special treatment. The flight wasn't sold out, but the 2 seats next to me were occupied. No problem. It crossed my mind to move after takeoff, but honestly, the seats were really comfortable, so I was just okay staying there if I had to. The purser came over, directly to me while we were still on the ground, introduced herself, greeted me by name, no tablet in hand, and thanked me for being a SkyTeam Elite Plus member. She offered me a choice of pre-takeoff drink, and specifically let me know that she was going to find a row that I could have all to myself. This was all a very nice touch, but considering she didn't say a word to the passengers next to me, it was like 3% awkward as well. I was honestly shocked at being asked about a pre-departure drink, so I just got a cup of water. After the doors closed, sure enough, she came back and offered me a row of 3 seats, 2 rows back. By chance, the couple next to me just moved back there instead, since they'd need to get up for me to get out anyway. I saw her do the same with the other elite passengers. I've seen kind of similar treatment before, but only on Cathay Pacific pre-COVID, where the flight attendants would routinely pass out bottles of Evian to One World Emerald members. But that was pretty much the extent of it. On Singapore, I'd expect a personal greeting at the seat, and that's all. Enough of that for now, let's push back and check out the safety video. We had a quick taxi to the runway, lining up for a southerly takeoff. The spool up, takeoff, and airport stats are coming up next. It was a pretty smoggy day, and once above it, you could clearly see how thick that soup below was. Let's check out some of the onboard comfort items. Upon boarding, there was a standard economy pillow and blanket at each seat. While I'd certainly expect those to be available by request, for such short flights I was surprised to see them proactively at each seat already. As for the entertainment on offer, there was a decent selection, nothing to blow your socks off, but for such a short flight, it was more than sufficient. They also had the standard Voyager 3D show. Not being completely full, the cabin was served very efficiently. The choices on offer were minced pork noodle or fish rice. I think it was fish rice. Honestly, I heard minced pork noodle and my brain just stopped there. This was genuinely one of the better economy meals that I've ever had, and the meal in general was just great for a short regional flight. There was also a small fruit plate and an edamame salad of sorts, served alongside a standard roll and packaged cookie. As for the 10-second toilet tour, this was impressive in here. It was spotlessly clean, and they even had some nice products on hand for economy passengers. That's near unheard of for short flights like this. Hard to see it on camera, but the strobing rainbow lighting effect I believe was our signal that we were approaching Saigon. We had quite a few beautiful fluffy clouds to fly through before descending into a truly awful, ugly soup. Believe it or not, there's land down there. Really one of the worst days for air pollution that I've seen in Saigon since before COVID. We're coming in for landing now as we have our final approach over the outer districts. The landing stats are coming up soon.
Dear passengers, welcome to Ho Chi Minh City. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the fasten sign is shut off. When opening the overhead compartment, please take care to ensure the contents are not announced.
It was a quick taxi to the international terminal where we pulled up alongside a Virgin Australia Qatar transformer and a Vietjet A330. So, as I make my way towards a painful hour-long immigration queue, let me sum up the flight as best as I can. The ground staff and lounge was fantastic. The meal was fantastic. The plane and cabin was fantastic. The crew was fantastic. And well, yeah, the flight was fantastic. Even the nitpicker inside of me, which you all know, couldn't find something to fault here. Big props to China Airlines for maintaining such standards on what many airlines consider to be a throwaway flight. And by the way, yes, I do know that my two perfect airline scores are both from Taiwanese carriers. But before someone starts talking about a conspiracy theory in the comments, might I just gently suggest that perhaps Taiwanese carriers are just that good? Well, that'll do it for today. I really hope that you did enjoy this one. I certainly did. If you did, please be sure to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content. I'll see you next time from the region in Taipei. Oh, and thanks for watching until the end. Quote, I have chills. I honestly didn't think that it would live up to the weight of my expectations. A part of me feels a little bit devastated to be leaving. For those of you that are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name is Kevin and I'm the Flip Flop Traveler. I think that the internet is in need of a whole lot more honesty when it comes to airline and hotel content, and that's why I'm here. I make trip reports and high-end hotel reviews, and I always self-fund my trips. In fact, you'll always be able to find the exact price that I paid in the description below. I don't alert any companies that I'll be filming because I want as normal of an experience as possible. So in this video today, I'm going to give you nothing more than my own personal, honest, and unbiased opinion based on my own experience. I don't usually write notes in the style of the one that I read in the opening about hotels that I'm reviewing. But when I left Amarvilas, I was so struck with, I don't even know what, but I felt that I needed to write it down so that I could remember the weight of it months later when editing this video. This is the last video in this India series, and perhaps my last India video for just a little while, so you'll excuse a bit of reflecting in this review. India, on a global scale, may as well be undiscovered when it comes to hospitality. Yes, I'm overgeneralizing, and I'm also well aware of the history of the brands like Taj and Oberoi and the likes. But just because some people know about them, doesn't mean that all people understand them. I'll be the first one to admit that India is an acquired taste for many foreign travelers. But as we drive from the dusty streets of Rajasthan to the literal Taj Mahal, I wanted to find a concept that I feel like thousands of vloggers have failed to do. You watch a favorable video about India on YouTube. At some point, the creator will inevitably say something along the lines of, India's got me. It's a feeling that I cannot explain. It's almost spiritual. Meanwhile, their viewers are watching, thinking, what the hell does that mean? Let me tell you what it means and who may enjoy India. India is a basket of experiments and opportunities. It is a developing country in the purest form of the phrase. Why? Take a look at India, and then take a look at just about every other developing country on Earth. There are, of course, exceptions, but India is one of the few major developing economies which is not subject to widespread violence or strong-arm rule. This is by no means a political statement or video, but I think this stuff does bear saying if you're considering to visit India. I'm trying to be real with you, while also just stepping a little gently. What does this mean in real terms? It means things develop more organically, slowly but consistently, and sometimes messily. Everything you've heard about India is possibly true, but likely without context. This is a country of hundreds of cultures, colors, and creeds, vibrantly moving forward with the single goal to make the country better for the next generation. That's the spirit that I think every other content creator is struck by. India shows you what is possible, for better or for worse, when certain developing world barriers don't exist. If you enjoy watching development in real time, as I do, you'll enjoy India. This means incredible homegrown hospitality. It also means struggling to deal with modern-day pollution. This means having vibrant, lively megacities. It also means struggling to fight poverty within those cities. This means having some of the most beautiful sights on Earth, but also it means you need to set up your expectations appropriately if you ever expect to enjoy your time here. We're getting pretty close now. If you'll notice, the street styles have changed a bit. That's because we are now actually inside the Taj Mahal's expansive grounds. Yes, this hotel doesn't have just a good view, it's literally on site. I'm in no way, shape, or form here to promote any specific country, but when I see an opportunity to help travelers open doors which would otherwise be locked, I kind of feel like it's my duty to at least give them the key. And here we are. Welcome to Amarvilas. Arriving at Amarvilas is nearly as over the top as it is understated. When arriving, there are no crazy gestures or showers of rose petals or live musicians. What there is, though, is the undivided attention of a lot of staff. Besides the type of resort where you arrive via boat, where a gaggle of staff will greet you on the dock, I don't know of any other hotels out there which instantly center the universe on you quite like Amarvilas. You'll be met at your car and guided through the courtyard where your history lesson will begin. Stepping inside the reception hall, you'll be greeted by 4 more staff who will drape you in garland and bless you before escorting you to the lobby lounge for a refreshment. Let's break off and get a better view. Similar to Amarvilas, which I posted a video about a few weeks ago, linked above and below, Amarvilas is sort of a sanctuary within a sanctuary within a sanctuary. Immediately, you're in the front courtyard, which welcomes all guests of the hotel's 102 rooms and suites. Here's your friendly reminder to please click the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn notifications on. All of that, plus sharing the video with friends and family, truly does help the channel continue to grow. If you'd like to support further, my Patreon is also linked in the description below. Thanks very much in advance. Opened in 2001, the hotel wows you as you walk in with its massive lapis blue and gilded gold dome, which hover over the entry rotunda. The hotel was designed by Bill Bensley, but in a very good way, this is one of his more reserved works, designed to reflect the Mughal heritage of the Shah Jahan dynasty. Since its opening, almost 23 years ago, the hotel has not seen a top-to-bottom renovation as most hotels would have seen during that time. If you look at photos of the hotel from 20 years ago, likely the only differences you'll see will perhaps be the colors of the silk textiles and the image quality itself. This property was built to age like fine wine, and it certainly has. At the far end of the lobby, we get our first view of the Taj Mahal, and it is sure to take your breath away. From the lobby, we walk over to the lobby lounge, which is frankly one of the more beautiful rooms or venues that I've seen. I had a cup of tea here while the staff went over a few of my check-in details. After confirming some things, we proceeded up to my room where the check-in was completed. Before I get into my first big point, let's just admire some of the finer details. An array of silks, a local marble inlay technique named Parchinkari, woven textiles, teakwood ornaments, and flowers are the language that we're speaking here. So my first big point of this video is, they know why you're here. I don't imagine that there are many guests that spend a week or two at Amarvilas. The main draw here is surely the wonder of the world itself, the Taj Mahal. My guess is that 1 to 3 nights would be the average stay duration, and due to this, your time in Amarvilas will be spent in a way to maximize things, so to speak. When I got to my room, I was asked about my plans to visit the Taj. I asked about the easiest way to visit for sunrise, and the response was something along the lines of, "Absolutely, there's nothing to worry about. We'll arrange it all for you. Tomorrow, the sun will rise at 5:25. Please come down to the lobby 40 minutes prior to that, and we'll have a private morning guide waiting for you." The guides that they arrange do not work for Oberoi directly, but they are vetted extensively, and are also quite reasonable considering that you're booking through the hotel. Let's get a better look at where we are exactly. Agra is in the north of India in the mega state of Uttar Pradesh, or UP as it's locally called. Agra does have its own airport, but how shall I say, it's not really used. At the time of writing, it only had 4 or 5 flights per day from cities such as Mumbai, Bengaluru, Lucknow, Ahmedabad, and Jaipur. The vast majority of visitors to Agra arrive via Delhi, which is a 3.5 to 4 hour drive to the north, or by land from Jaipur, which is 5 hours to the west, if you're on the Golden Triangle loop. Once we zoom in a bit, we can see what makes Amarvilas so special. Here's the Taj Mahal. Here's Amarvilas. And here's a whole bunch of protected land. Every one of the rooms in the hotel has direct Taj views, and as the staff put it, the only thing that will ever change that is if the trees grow taller than the Taj. When touring the Taj, you'll take a golf cart from the hotel entrance, here, to the ticket entrance, here, and then you'll walk around inside the complex. Note that along the interior roads, only Amarvilas can transport its guests by vehicle. Alright, let's go explore the absolutely stunning outdoor pool and surrounding grounds. If you notice, there's a lot of cuts in this part of the video. It's because it was 115 degrees or 46 degrees Celsius, and my iPhones were not having it. I'd get around 40 seconds of filming before my phone would overheat. So all of this was pieced together from 3 different iPhones which I was rotating between. Thank God for backups to the backups. If you head down to the description, you'll find my next 5 videos to come out, as well as other bits and pieces like the soundtrack titles featured in this video. On your way down there, don't forget to subscribe. I release full-length videos every Thursday and Saturday. As we walk around, let me tell you a bit about Oberoi. I've covered the company history extensively in my Oberoi Mumbai video, linked above and below, but today I want to focus on their future in 2 ways. First up, the hotels themselves. They currently have 19 properties, 12 of which are in India, with 8 in the official pipeline. The interesting bit about their pipeline, though, is a term that you'll see written all over it. 7 stars. Yes, we're skipping 6 and going straight to 7. Oberoi has plans to build 5 7-star hotels in India in the coming years, likely in places that you've never heard of, and that's kind of the point. Tirupati, Gandikota, Visakhapatnam, Pichchukalanka, and Horsley Hills. Right after I googled, what is a 7-star hotel, I checked out each of these cities, and I can understand the attention that they're getting. The second piece about their future is also my second big point. In 1966, Oberoi opened what is now known as the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. The institute has a variety of programs, which range from full-on scholarships come internships, all the way through to the graduate level management programs and just about everything in between. Guest as God is a mantra held in high regard and practiced by many hotel chains in India, Oberoi one of them. But Oberoi over the years has taken that a step further, saying, simply, the guest is everything. Oberoi is known for discreet but thoughtful anticipatory service. By a long shot and a half, this is the hardest type of service to pull off well. And from the early days, the company realized they needed a way to create their own internal talent pool, and so the center was born. Now, the reason why it's one of my big points for this hotel is because this is the first time that I've actually seen it in action that I know of at least. I had a few interactions with staff in various roles in the hotel, only to find out later that they were all students of the program. Now, when I was talking to them, did I know they were younger staff? Sure. Was I already impressed with their savvy about the topics that we were talking about? Sure. But later, when I knew more about how they came to work for the hotel, or rather intern at the hotel, I was honestly gobsmacked. These were truly the most poised, professional, and knowledgeable young staff that I've ever met at a hotel. And to hear their stories about how they came to be part of the center was pretty special. What took it a step further, though, was when I was giving feedback to some of the managers or supervisors at the hotel. I remember after I had dinner, I asked if I could pull the F&B manager outside for a moment just to give a bit of feedback. I just went into a bit of detail about the staff that I'm talking about, the ones that worked for her specifically at least, and she was absolutely beaming with pride. Say what you will about big companies and corporations, etc., etc. I'm probably right there with you. And because of that, it was so incredibly refreshing to see a company investing in their talent, and then to see the fruits of all of that labor in person at the same time. Back to the pool, the shaded grotto has got to be the best part. On hot days, it was still wonderfully cool inside here. Okay, let's go check out my room for this stay. For this trip, I had a premier room with a balcony. I'll give you my favorite and least favorite details at the end of the room tour, but as we're looking around, let me just cover my very much related third big point, which is the timeless quality of the details in the hotel in general, but especially in the rooms. Oberoi is not known for cutting-edge room design. It's just not their thing. It's not their priority. They have design formula which works for them, and in most cases has worked for me as well, if not been a bit underwhelming in design. Of the 4 Oberois that I've been to, this is the one that flipped all of that on its head. If you've ever seen an Oberoi room, you can near instantly tell that it's an Oberoi. And in that sense, this room does fit their design language, but it's just so much more elevated compared to their other properties. The number of small but pristine details in this room that echo the Taj Mahal directly is stunning. So I'll let you look around and be back in a bit. So as we head out to this incredible balcony, let me start off with my least favorite details. There's actually only one of them, and it's the bathroom. To be honest, of all of the Oberoi bathrooms that I've seen, this one is actually the freshest and most modern looking, I'll admit that. But it's simply not doing anything for the room. It's a missed opportunity. Can you imagine some teakery mosaic art built into the walls? Maybe some marble inlay on the vanity? I'm just looking for a bit of personality. As for my favorite details, well, these are plentiful. First off, we have the view itself. It will never get old, and even while staying here, there was this kind of whoa moment every time you looked out the window. Second detail are the triple cards to hang on the outside of your door, which you'll find at every Oberoi. The third one alerting the staff that you have laundry for pickup. And even more so, one of my favorite things that you'll find in many Indian hotels, the anti-slam padding, which will be used every time the staff enter your room. They hook the other end on the exterior handle, and voila! It doesn't sound like the room is going to crumble every time the door slams on the deadbolt. Last up are all of the inlay details, especially the wooden chevron details and the marble inlay. The lapis, turquoise, and other gemstone work is just stunning. When we take a look at the Taj Mahal in a bit, you'll see exactly where these details came from. When I first arrived, I had room service. A club sandwich, which is just about as good as you're going to get, and wonderfully presented as well. Okay, let's go explore some of the other venues on site. First up, just off the lobby is the, wait for it, bar. Open throughout the day, the bar is known for its signature cocktails and serves them up in a very colonial-era atmosphere. Next up, we're going to head downstairs to the two primary restaurants, but first, a few musical interludes along the way. Dinner was at Esfahan, which offers a choice of veg or non-veg thali, as well as a full a la carte menu. You won't be surprised to find that I went for the thali. The restaurant is very Oberoi in its classic styling and features a live musician throughout the evening. Before I even get started about the menu, I'll mention that the service here was on point. Started off with some papadums and chutney and moved on to the kebab appetizers. Tandoori prawn in a citrus cream marinade, and tandoor chicken in a saffron egg crust. For the main dishes, we had lamb korma, chicken makhni, Bengal fish curry, paneer meti makhana, and dal Esfahani, along with raita and rice pilau. Dessert was a selection of small local treats and cookies. After the meal, as is customary at Oberoi, one of the chefs will come out to ask you how your meal was. I said it was very good, but he politely pressed me. Perhaps my poker face wasn't as good as I thought it was. I told him that each dish was prepared very well. I couldn't fault it. But the selection of dishes and the flavors were just on the basic side. I told him I understand why it would be like this, as this is possibly the first and maybe only thali that some guests will ever have. But I just said that I wish that there was like another more advanced offering as well. Something a bit more local, a bit more unexpected. He took the feedback very graciously and said he understood exactly what I meant. I headed back to my room after dinner to find my flip-flops very well respected, and then to my surprise, found that the Taj Mahal is not lit up at night, instead casting a beautifully spooky silhouette instead. The next morning was absolutely incredible, and honestly, I have no words to properly describe it, so I'll just let you enjoy. The Taj Mahal is often described as poetry in marble. Perhaps the world's most cherished expression of love via stonework. What struck me though was the ornate amount of detail everywhere, and the amount of inlay work covering the outside and inside. I did go inside, which is surprisingly small, but photos are not allowed inside. Unless you've been here or studied the structure, you'll likely think that it was all white, or at least all white Carrara-like marble. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined how intricately designed it actually is. I was back in time to catch the tail end of breakfast service at the newly spruced up Bellevue restaurant. This is also the all-day dining venue. On offer was a small buffet, as well as Oberoi's famous breakfast. Though here, the a la carte menu is a bit smaller than I'm used to for an Oberoi, but still plenty of great options to choose from. So, as we look around and then check out the fitness center, let's see if I can't wrap this up neatly. Not only is the Taj Mahal its own bucket list stop, this hotel is as well. If you're planning on visiting Agra, or doing the full Golden Triangle, or any extended trip in India, it would be purely foolish to pass up on Amarvilas if you can fit it into your budget. I stayed here during super low season, which accounts for my nightly rate and the heat. But I would say, even at double my rate, it is still worth the stay. And you've never heard me say anything is blindly worth $900 before. But what Amarvilas gives you cannot be replicated anywhere. The access, the ambiance, the service, and the views. 2 nights here will likely fulfill decades worth of wonder. Since it's probably a shorter stay, I'd encourage you to take a look at some of their other beautiful suites. Also something that I never suggest. But Amarvilas is simply an occasion, and I cannot imagine anyone ever stepping onto their balcony and thinking, "That's it?" I really do hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please be sure to click that thumbs up button and subscribe with notifications on, so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content. This might be the last of my India hotels for now, but I have lots of hotel content coming from Vietnam, Mexico, Oman, and the UAE in the next few months to come. In addition, of course, to 4 to 6 monthly trip reports. But before all of that, I'll see you next time on board Bamboo Airways. Oh, and thanks for watching until the end. This was the best flight of my life. 50 years from now, if you ask me about the best flight experience I ever had, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if I said it was still this one. ANA is not glitzy, it's not fashionable, it's not on everyone's bucket list in the same way the likes of Emirates are. I understand why. ANA First Class, I've learned, is the very definition of understated elegance and precision, and that is simply not everyone's cup of Hibiki 21. But it turns out it is mine. Before this flight, I'm not really sure if I understood the point of first class, in that it's the most absurdly unnecessary thing you can experience in life, but it's also one of life's greatest pleasures if it's done well. That latter bit, I think I truly did learn on this flight. For any of you that are new to the channel, a very warm welcome to you. My name is Kevin and I am the Flip Flop Traveler. I'm here to give you honest content about flights, hotels, trains, and cruises. I paid for this trip out of pocket, and the price that I paid is in the description below. ANA had no knowledge that I'd be filming today, and I didn't receive any compensation from them. Everything in this video is as I saw it, and my own personal opinion. The rest, I'll let speak for itself. Let's get started. As we head to the ANA Suite Lounge, let me tell you how this flight came to be. The last time I went to Mexico, in spring of 2021, I also had flights on ANA booked. I was meant to fly from Saigon to Mexico City on ANA, but due to reduced frequencies at the time, I needed to transit from Narita to Haneda, or maybe vice versa, along the way. It was an 8-hour connection, and at the time of booking months earlier, it didn't seem like it would be that much of a problem. But it was. A month prior to the flights, Japan was still not fully open for tourism, so that transit between airports would not have been possible. That's why I ended up on and published a video a while back about United from Narita to LAX. In the back of my mind though, ANA, both in business and in first, was an aspirational goal of mine, long haul, so I kept on the lookout. First things first, as you enter the lounge, there's a kiosk where you can request a shower. It'll tell you how long the queue is and send you a text message when it's your turn. Heading inside, the lounge has 2 distinct sections. The first one we're heading to now is the dining area. There you'll be greeted as you walk in and offered a seat and choice of drink. At the rear of the space, there's a small snack buffet, as well as a window where you can order a variety of foods cooked a la carte. This time, I am again going to Mexico, and stumbled upon a bit of a strange award redemption via Avianca's Life Miles. Saigon to Singapore to Haneda, on Singapore Airlines in economy, connecting to ANA First Class to JFK. All for the incredibly low price of 63,000 Life Miles points. There was an Amex transfer bonus at the time, making it just 55,000 points on my end. This single leg alone, as I mentioned before, goes for generally around $13,000. As far as I know, such a combination of flights and price is an absolute unicorn of a fare, and probably only available via Avianca for two reasons. First, they allow you to mix and match cabin classes, if they're available, when choosing your itinerary. Second, while their pricing system does more or less use a zone-to-zone award chart, they calculate the mixed class itineraries proportionally, accounting for the percentage of total miles flown in each leg as a proportion of the total trip. I could have bought this exact same leg from Haneda to JFK alone for 90,000 life miles, but quote-unquote adding the two economy legs to the beginning of the itinerary triggered the proportional pricing, and voila, here we are, Terminal 3 to be exact. Tokyo Haneda, the preferred airport by most of the two that serve Tokyo, has 3 terminals, and now, like I said, we're in Terminal 3. If you have an intercontinental long-haul flight on ANA or JAL, you'll likely be departing from here. ANA and Japan Airlines each have a first class and business class lounge in this terminal, all centrally located and super easy to find with Haneda's fantastic map info boards. The other side of the lounge is much brighter and has a mix of individual cubicle loungers along with some tables and chairs. The space was very comfortable and calm, but I do need to point out the oddest thing that I think I've ever seen in a lounge, especially a first class lounge, especially in Japan. I'd love to know the backstory on this and who's been stealing all the pillows. Anyway, there's another food zone back here with a slightly more extensive buffet. If you head down to the description, you'll find my next 5 videos to come out, as well as other bits and pieces like the soundtrack titles featured in this video. On your way down there, don't forget to subscribe. I release full-length videos every Thursday and Saturday. Overall, the lounge is basic, and by most first-class standards, subpar. But having been to many lounges in Japan, this is more or less exactly what I was expecting, so it's at least on brand. The shower rooms, on the other hand, though, were just a bit of a letdown. Smaller than many business-class shower suites. Let's head to our gate for today, 110. Watching gate staff prepare for boarding in Japan could honestly be a spectator sport. The organization, communication, and to-the-minute timeliness is simply next level. ANA's earliest beginnings can be traced back to the Japan Helicopter and Aeroplane Transport Company, which was founded in 1952. That name was later shortened to Nippon Helicopter, which is where ANA's NH airline code came from. In 1955, they became All Nippon Airways Company and merged with Far East Airlines in 1958. Through the 1960s and 70s, ANA grew their fleet and became the largest domestic carrier in the country. Limited to doing so because the government-owned Japan Airlines at the time had a monopoly on all international commercial routes until 1986. That same year, ANA began flying to Guam, LAX, and Washington Dulles. In 1999, they joined the Star Alliance, and by 2004, their profits exceeded JAL's for the first time. Over the years, they dabbled with other airlines as well. They started AirAsia Japan with AirAsia in 2011, only to transition that to Vanilla Air in 2013. They're also the owner of ANA Wings, Air Nippon, and Air Do, and they're the largest shareholder of Peach, another low-cost airline which Vanilla Air was folded into a few years ago. Finally, they also own 9.5% of Philippine Airlines, surprising, and 8.8% of Vietnam Airlines. Currently, they have 202 passenger aircraft in their fleet, 81 of which are 787s, which they were the launch customer for. With those, plus their 61 more aircraft on order, they fly to 38 international destinations, as well as a whopping 50 domestic. Boarding began precisely on time and took no more than 20 minutes to fill the entire plane. That helped by the fact that ANA's new configuration 777-300ERs have just 212 seats, with the 8 first class and 64 business class seats taking up more than half of the plane. You can compare this to the domestic 777-300s ANA used to operate with an insane 514 seats. Here's your friendly reminder to click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family. Those are truly the easiest ways, all free for you, to help support the channel. If you'd like to support me further, My Patreon is linked in the description below. Thanks very much in advance. As we head down the first class only jet bridge, let's take a look at today's flight stats. Immediately upon boarding, I knew that this flight was going to be different. It was going to be really quite special. The crew, I can't say enough nice things about, but I'm gonna try to later on. For now, let's head to my seat, or as ANA calls it, the suite, 2 Alpha. Finished in cool grays, dark wood tones, blues and purples, I think this is the sleekest cabin flying these days. Let's take a look at the layout. This one is pretty easy to digest. There are a total of 2 rows in a 1-to-1 configuration for a total of 8 private suites, each with its own doors. There are no bad seats here in first class, but I generally do choose the second row because the first row usually curves a smidgen at the front of the seat, and what can I say? I want every square inch that I can get. The seat itself is a very girthy 28 inches wide, leading to probably my favorite bed in the sky with a width of 31 inches and a length of 80 inches. The seats are based on the Jamco Serenity seat and were designed in conjunction with their new business class, the Room, by a 5-year collaboration between famed Japanese architect Kengo Kuma and British designers Acumen. Here's a quick peek at the business class, which I am still absolutely dying to try. The design of the cabins is inspired by Japanese heritage and Western design principles, and my favorite quote about the cabin is by Kengo Kuma, who noted, quote, "The design process is just as much about what we decided to include as what we decided to omit," unquote. That less is more design philosophy is what led, I think, to such an understated, elegant design. The seat has reading lights over each shoulder, as well as a literature pocket and coat closet on the aisle side. On the window side, we have the IFE remote, seat controls, and electronic window controls. Each side of the seat also has its own storage cubby. Waiting at the seat when I arrived was an amenity kit, as well as Sony noise-canceling headphones sat on top of yet another storage space. There was also a pair of slippers, pajamas, and a cardigan. As you arrive to your seat, the crew will offer to help you change into the slippers, but for me personally, well, I can handle that myself. Under your windows are, guess what, 2 more storage cubbies, with the one closer to you housing the universal outlet, 2 USB ports, an HDMI port, and a headphone jack. I'll point out that everything that looks like metal is in fact metal. I say that because this suite is built like a stylish tank. Everything has weight to it, and all of the storage compartments have the most satisfying latching mechanisms. I had some champagne and sparkling water as we waited on the ground for our pushback slot, and the exploration continues. The area under the footrest can store likely any reasonably sized carry-on. For the tray table, just follow the instructions and pull that massive table towards you, and it unfolds into a table which can serve 2. Speaking of big things, this is also the largest TV in the commercial airline skies at the moment, at a whopping 43 inches. For the moving map, this was absolutely magnificent. Our flight today was full in all classes, but you can see, even with the doors open, you still get quite a bit of privacy. Oh, and for the shock of the day, there are also individual air vents. On a Japanese carrier, these are incredible to have, since the cabins are usually kept quite warm. Here you can see the small closet and some views of the suite doors closed, as well as the center seat dividers. The safety video began, and soon enough we pushed back with a little bit of a delay. As we push back, I would like to officially award the ANA livery as the world's most timelessly modern livery. This current design first debuted in 1982, and the changes since then have been very minor, such as including the inspiration of Japan titles and moving the position of the Japanese flag. These are truly beautiful birds, and I had absolutely no idea the livery had been around longer than I have. Okay, it is a beautiful day, so I'm going to be quiet for a while. The taxi, airport stats, and takeoff are coming up. Just for today, to get you in the mood for an incredible meal service coming up, I'm not going to speed up the takeoff. Enjoy the beautiful views of Tokyo as we turn and head to the north.
お待たせいたしました。離陸いたします。シートベルトをもう一度お確かめください。Thank you for waiting, dear passengers. We are now ready for takeoff. Please make sure that the seat belt is securely fastened. Thank you.
Soon after the flight attendants were released, I was brought a hot, refreshing towel and the food and drink menus for today's flight. Of course, I had to start with some Hibiki 21. And yes, I do drink it on the rocks, because it's better. Let's sort through some of the other comfort items on board. First up, the throw pillow. It's a really nice, high-quality memory foam pillow, which is the perfect size to lean on since the seat itself is so wide. Next up is, sorry Etihad, my new favorite blanket in the sky. This thing felt like a hug from 1,000 lambs while swimming through clouds in a cotton candy factory. Hard to believe it's actually cotton. In a heartbeat, I would have guessed high-end cashmere. The amenity kit itself is from Globetrotter, also the name of one of my Patreon tiers. I guess we were meant to be. Inside, you'll find products from the Ginza, as well as an assortment of ANA branded comfort items. Male passengers also got a bottle of Varon men's skincare, whatever that is. First class passengers receive a voucher for Wi-Fi service as well as Sony noise-canceling headphones. By far, the best that I've had in the sky. The slippers and the cardigan were kind of standard issue for Japanese carriers, though this cardigan in particular did feel quite a bit newer than any other that I've gotten on board. The pajamas, though, were actually really nice. For me, as long as the pajamas have an open or openable neckline, then I'm a fan. It didn't hurt that these were also really nice quality as well. Okay, that was a lot, but we're just getting started. Time for the food. When filming these courses, I don't think I considered how long it would take to describe them. They're all pretty complex. We started with a 4-part amuse. Marinated shrimp with aurora sauce, pumpkin blanc manger style with dried mushroom, smoked duck with eggplant sauce, and the signature ANA stick. Tables were set. Here's the full food menu. To simplify things a bit, let's just assume that each thing that I ate was really good as a baseline. The exceptional bits I'll call out further. This is about the time when I realized that this was not a normal flight. This was flying. This was turning into a masterclass in the art of flying, and the crew were the ones guiding the way. I paired the first couple of courses, I went with the Japanese cuisine, with a glass of chilled sake. In my mind, for some reason, I was holding back, thinking, well, I already had 2 hibikis, let me not be greedy and go straight to Krug. But then I saw my neighbor did just that, so the gloves came off after this point. Here's the full drink menu. It's extensive. Like, well, you'll see. Any red prices are average US retail prices at the time of the flight. I added those to the graphic to give you an idea of the stock of wine on board. I really can't explain to you how much I appreciate an airline that celebrates their hometown products. I'll tell you a little secret. I recently flew Japan Airlines in first class as well, and their selection just doesn't even come close. And I kind of love how the most expensive things on the menu are just listed as if they were any old soft drink. I do think a bit of info about the hibikis would have been nice though. Note that the 21 year is only on the New York, London, and Frankfurt services. All the other cities get the 17 year. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pronounce things wrong, fair warning. Top left is the Sakizuke, or starter. Today's is shine muscat, millet wheat gluten, and tomato with tofu paste. this was intriguing. The zensai below it were Japanese tiger prawn sushi, simmered sweet potato in syrup, incredible, roast beef, also incredible, Japanese omelet with white bait, and pickled salmon roe with soy and yuzu, one of the most surprisingly refreshing bites I've ever had. Next course was the owan, or clear soup with produce. This was pike conger with kudzu starch and wild fiddlehead wrapped in deep-fried tofu and yuzu. The key word here is probably delicate, but for me it just came off as bland. Next is the prettiest dish of the day, the mukozuke, or sashimi plate, with kelp-cured sea bream and sesame tofu. The sea bream was beautifully clean tasting, and the sesame tofu was surprisingly luxurious in some way. Let me mention that there was a slight miscommunication, which means that the rest of my dishes came out a bit out of order, which was my fault. The dish on the right is takiyawase, or simmered treats with turnip and conger eel. Top left is grilled matsutake mushroom and marinated mizuna green and vinegared lotus root in a green vinegar sauce. I'm just happy to say matsutake, I think, for the first time in my life, after having practically grown up watching Iron Chef. The main dish was abalone, sea urchin, eggplant, taro, and manganji pepper with grated winter melon sauce and wasabi. That sauce, admittedly odd-looking, was the star. Finally, the pickles, miso soup, and steamed rice. At this point, I switched to champagne, and by now the vintage Krug was gone, so I had to slum it with the Grand Cuvée. But I don't blame everyone else for finishing off the 2004. For dessert, I asked for one of the Western options instead and chose the pistachio soufflé, which was the perfect ending. And finally, since more is more, some chocolates. So I'm not usually a whiskey person. I'll enjoy a glass, but I'm not in love with it. The hibiki, though, I loved, and I wondered if my palate was changing or if it was just that good. So I asked for a bit of Blue Label just to compare in my mind, and I can say without a doubt, the Hibiki 21 really just is that good. For entertainment on board, the selection was just okay. There are around 150 movies in total. Obviously plenty to keep most entertained, but not thousands of titles like Emirates has. Which is fine, because all I wanted to watch was the incredible moving map anyway. There were also 2 onboard cameras with some pretty cool overlays to enjoy the ride. The bathrooms are spacious and impeccably clean, but stocked pretty basically. Surely anything you need is in your kit or the crew can give. I just wish they had a nicer soap. Let's call that a nano complaint. While I was in the bathroom, the crew made up my suite into a bed for me. Now this is truly the life. This massive bed, with the giant TV and doors for privacy, I was quite a happy camper for many hours, which I donated to Hibiki. Some complain the seat is too hard as a mattress. Personally, I disagree since I like firm mattresses, but I can see what they're saying. There's a thin seat protector, and then a cozy duvet as well. Believe it or not, I actually used the duvet when I was sleeping. It got chilly. I woke up somewhere over the Bering Sea to a beautiful sunset, I think, and for some ungodly reason was feeling a bit peckish. There's an extensive selection of dishes which you can order at any time throughout the flight. Some are snacks, some are small hot bits, and some are full meals. I went with the beef hamburger with teriyaki sauce, followed by a chicken udon. This burger, hold your judgment. This plain Jane looking burger was absolutely insane. It was like a flavor bomb. Don't say that on board. Hiding under the patty were a few microgreens and the teriyaki sauce. It was good enough to make me laugh a little bit after that first bite. The chicken udon was good too, but frankly, nothing could have followed that burger. Transitioning to New York time, I started with many iced Americanos, which were actually really good. Let me talk about the service. Frankly, when it comes to first-class products, I am not the expert. At the time of writing this, I've flown on around 7 first-class products. Besides this flight, they've all loosely fallen into one of two categories, service-wise. On one side of things, we have the flights which had incredible service, but it was exactly as expected. My Singapore suites and one of my Emirates first-class flights are perfect examples of this. They are everything you'd want, and more, but it's you sitting in your seat being served. The other kind of experience that I've had has been this odd, too cool for school kind of experience. I honestly don't know how to describe it other than saying it's kind of like a bro-y vibe. Like, yes, you're our most special passenger, and I am our most special flight attendant. And unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're enjoying everything. Just look at the two of us being cool together. I hope someone tells me that I'm not crazy in the comments because this has happened to me twice now. Anyway, not important, back to ANA. In first class, I think there are two kinds of passengers. There are regular flyers and there are special occasion flyers. I think the likes of Singapore Airlines like to make everyone feel like a regular flyer. Like, you definitely paid full cash fare for this ticket and you probably do it monthly, so we're gonna treat you like gold. When in reality, half of the cabin paid with points or upgraded at the gate. On ANA, the biggest difference was that the crew made it an occasion. In their own poised and somewhat reserved way, it was very clear that their entire purpose, yes, besides safety, was to make this flight as perfectly special as possible. There was no pretension. There was no acting. There was no pandering. It was just genuine hospitality. All 8 of us in this cabin were incredibly well looked after from the very moment we boarded until we were off the plane. It was as if all of the crew were hosting a dinner party at their house and we were all invited, and slept over, and asked for a bedtime story, and asked for breakfast. I genuinely think that this is the closest that I will ever come to flying in the quote-unquote good old days, when cabin crew were known for hosting premium guests in the same way. This flight was certainly a special occasion to begin with, but the crew are the ones that made this the best flight of my life. The food didn't hurt either. Time for breakfast. I had a very odd but very delicious and very rich version of Eggs Benedict, with mimolette cheese sauce and grilled bacon. In reality, we can call this bacon steak, and the eggs were perfectly poached. Served alongside some bread and pastries, and followed up with an exceptionally beautiful fruit plate. Before I knew it, we were approaching Poughkeepsie and about ready to turn south for my favorite approach into JFK. Following the Hudson down, crossing over Manhattan with views of JFK and Idlewild in the distance, before looping around south of Long Island to land on runway 31 right. A very lucky runway for me to land on, which I'll explain in a bit. For now, please enjoy the views on another beautiful day. And then it was over. We had quite literally the quickest taxi to our gate in Terminal 7 that I could have ever imagined, which was thrilling at the moment, since my next flight was scheduled to take off in 2 short hours, and in that time I needed to enter the US, clear customs, take the train to another terminal, and get through security. The second I stepped off that plane, I hustled my way to Terminal 5. Here's a fun fact for the road. I originally meant for this video to be light on narration, but there was just too much good stuff to talk about. This flight was incredible, and I'm so thankful that I was able to experience it. I hope that you not only enjoyed the video, but I hope that I did it justice as well. If you did like this video, please be sure to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of my videos which I post twice a week. I'll see you next time on JetBlue to Cancun. Talk about a wake-up call after 13 hours of this. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end. Have you ever been to a resort where each time you think about your stay there, it stops you in your tracks and you find yourself taking a deep breath almost involuntarily? Yeah, this place is that good. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best and some of the not so best airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. This slice of perfection begins now. Trust me, I know what it's like to read or watch a review of any kind of travel experience and hear the creator, who may be making sponsored content, speak about how profoundly life-changing their experience was, how it was the pinnacle of all things good and holy in the world. Most of us see stuff like that and think, yeah, okay, sure buddy. It's that shared sense of cynicism that makes me feel the need to point out 2 things here. First, a very quick reminder that this review was not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. That means no money came to me and nothing came to me for free. The price that I paid is in the description, and no one at any level knew that I was visiting or would be making a video. The second thing is, when you're making videos like this, sometimes you need to speak in grandiose terms. I will do my best in this video to ensure that I'm just telling you exactly how it is. It might sound over the top and flowery and all of that, but if it does, it's because it is. With that, welcome to the Ritz-Carlton Langkawi, the first of 4 resorts I visited on the island, and lucky for me, not the only one I will be speaking about this highly. To say that Langkawi is a hidden jewel in plain sight is an understatement. If you're not familiar with the island, I'll get into that in a bit. When you arrive, you'll notice that there is no traditional reception area or lobby. You'll be led to a seating area where you'll be offered some cookies and a calamansi coconut water, while the details of your stay are being worked over. For the checkout process, it's in the same area, but it's in a hidden indoor office to the side. I often film everything 2 or 3 times for resort reviews. More so for stays when the weather is not cooperating. But then usually I only use the sunny weather shots in the final video. For today, I'm going to show a mix since I think the property looks equally rich on a sunny day as it does on a gloomy and dark one. Opened in 2017, the resort has 85 rooms and suites and 29 villas, all nestled into what is believed to be a 10 million year old rainforest. The property was designed by Philippe Villeroy of Tropical Area Architects out of Kuala Lumpur. I've never come across the firm before, but I can tell you they were the correct choice. The entire concept here was to build a resort that resembled a traditional kampong village, or simply kampong. These are traditional rural settlements of close-knit communities, much of which are built around stilt houses. The key to these communities, though, is that they grow around and within, not on top of, the dense rainforest. And so designing a sprawling resort like this one is a challenge to finish and not look like a bulldozer was taken to the property. This was painstakingly avoided. The planning and building took over 6 years. Simply laying out the structures on paper took over a year, as there was a goal of not having any earthworks on site. If there were boulders or hills or whatever may be, they needed to remain, and the facility would be built around them. That care and attention to detail is why this resort feels as integrated and lush and has been here forever but is still new as it does. There are many hidden in plain sight parts of the resort, which I think are especially nice because they aren't necessarily needed. The gardens and pond area we just passed through, if it wasn't there, you'd never miss it, which makes its thoughtful planning all the more appreciated, I think. I had a Patreon who I suggested to visit a couple of months ago, and the best way that I could describe it to them was, imagine if one of the densely forested six senses in the region went to finishing school in Kyoto. It's freeform, but also precise, lush and tropical, but also dark and mysterious. There's just a quality to it that is unlike all of its peers. The public facilities of the resort are centered around a beautiful crescent-shaped beach area. Before we have a look around, let's take a look at where we are. Langkawi is an island off the western coast of Malaysia in the Andaman Sea, north of Penang and south of Phuket. Despite the fact that there are some powerhouse resorts on the island itself remains free from over-touristing, as you'll see on much of the other islands and resort areas in the region. Langkawi is kind of to Phuket as Lombok is to Bali, the laid-back, calm and quiet neighbor. The resort is spread out over a small south-facing peninsula, with the beach where we're going to take a look at on the left side. Here we have the family pool, which is attached to the beach grill, which is open for lunch and dinner. The God's honest truth, resort stays like this one would not be possible without your support on Patreon. So if you appreciate these kinds of unsponsored videos, please consider checking out my page. You can also help the channel continue to grow by liking this video and subscribing to the channel, or joining my YouTube channel memberships. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. The beach itself is quaint, spotless, and sparkling. There are a few loungers and umbrellas set up, but I assure you there are multiple staff just out of view, ready to set up dozens more if and when they're needed. As we take a look around and then check out the adult pool on the other side of the beach, let me talk a bit about service. The service style here is fairly high touch, but in an Oberoi type of way, meaning that rather than always being there for whatever you need, the staff are trying to anticipate what you may need in order to remain out of sight, out of mind, or at your beck and call. After a few hours, you'll notice more and more staff, especially the countless buggy drivers, greeting you by name each time they drive past. Let's go check out my room. The rooms and suites are located in 3-story buildings, which have 2 to 3 units per floor. I booked the base level room, a deluxe Rainforest View corner room, and was upgraded to a junior suite Rainforest View due to booking with Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts. I've been speaking a lot lately about how too many hotels and resorts are fast and loose with the suite term, calling lots of more or less standard rooms a suite. In an odd turn of events, here they refer to this room as a junior suite, but in reality it does have a separate living space and is kind of a true suite. It has been quite a long time since I've loved a room as much as I love this one. As a professional nitpicker, I can tell you there's really not a single thing that I would change. I'll put up the extra bits and let you have a look around. The attention to detail is second to none, and the space is really just thoughtfully laid out. There's a desk where you want it to be, there's a seat to put on your shoes where you'd expect it to be. The room can be completely open from back to front, or closed off for complete privacy. Though it is referred to as a corner room, in reality it has full windows on 3 sides. Eight years in most contexts is not a long time, but 8 years for a high-end resort, and generally the best ones are beginning to think about a remodel or at least a refresh. I can't imagine that's the case here though, as it seems they've simply done a superb job just keeping things in great condition and refreshing spaces as needed during low season. As you may have seen the tarp on the building next to mine as we walked in. The bathroom, both the layout and the materials are beautiful. The near electric green ice jade marble just fits so well, and even complemented the Diptyque Philosikos products, the scent of which I'm generally not a fan of, but here that very green note just fit. Layout-wise, it's actually pretty unique. It's not that often that you find a square bathroom which is using all 4 corners of the space. As we finish looking around and head out to the nicely equipped balcony, let me explain why it's taken me quite a while to get to Langkawi. I'd been here once before, on Langkawi, in January of 2020. It was actually the last pre-COVID and pre-channel trip that I'd taken. I was visiting with family and was trying to decide between here, the Four Seasons, and the St. Regis. From the information that I found online at the time, they genuinely seemed to be on equal playing fields, so I chose the St. Regis simply because it was around $100 less per night. It was a very nice resort, but on a fairly small scale. Layout and scale-wise, it reminds me a lot of the Jumeirah Muscat Bay. It was not though a resort that had me itching to come back to Langkawi. It just didn't feel like something that I couldn't find elsewhere. I won't be revisiting the St. Regis on this trip for those reasons. And to say, because of that experience, that I wasn't prepared for the resorts that I would find on Langkawi this time is not an overstatement in the slightest. Okay, for dinner there are 4 options, which is quite good for a resort that just has over 100 rooms. First up is the Beach Grill, which you saw already. Second is Langkawi Kitchen, serving up international, Malay, and Indian fare, which we'll see for breakfast. And third is here, Haiyan, their fine dining Chinese restaurant. It's in a unique, stilt house, giving it some truly beautiful views. If I was here for longer, I would have definitely planned a meal here. Haiyan is located next to the spa, which is more or less the most identifiable feature about the resort, and dare I say, a little bit of a marketing mistake. This is just my opinion, and I don't expect anyone to agree with it, but Marriott incessantly uses photos of their spa here to promote this resort, and I just don't think it comes close to doing it justice now that I've been here. The marketing photos make it feel a little bit gimmicky, these nests floating over the water, when in reality, couldn't be further from the truth. At sunset, there's a bar of sorts set up on the beach. If I'm honest, I was enjoying dinner a bit too much and forgot to film it later on. The last spot for dinner is Horizon Lounge and Bar. Horizon serves up a Thai-focused Southeast Asian lounge menu, meaning that it might not feel like it's up to the task of dinner. Portions are said to be smaller. That said, I found it really easy to build a really nice meal. By the way, this is the same venue that would serve food and drinks to the adults-only pool. I started with the pomelo and jicama salad with napa cabbage and torched ginger. It was stunning to look at and equally good to eat, 9.1 out of 10. Next up I had the crab curry spring roll, which was oddly plated on a plate of dry beans. But if you can get past that, you'll enjoy the flavor, 9 out of 10. Finally, I had the chili prawns, which they were kind enough to deshell for me as I asked when ordering. It was packed with flavor, the shrimp were perfectly bouncy, and the spice level was a hearty full-mouth medium, just like I like it, 9.6 out of 10. They have quite a list of gin and tonic, so I capped things off with one. Might also have to do with that $100 food and beverage credit. We'll never know. The fishing boats were creating what I've come to call the Southern Lights, and I just had a long walk around the grounds, enjoying how beautifully lit up everything was. The next morning, I was up early and excited to head to Langkawi Kitchen for breakfast. I say this every time I'm at a resort that uses black really well, or just uses black at all. But black structures in a lush green setting is like peak design for me. On the way walking towards the restaurant, you'll pass a small lounge as well as the activity center and a resort boutique. The restaurant interior is beautifully decorated and does what I think the banyan tree Krabi and the Regent Bali were trying to do for their main restaurant, but perhaps fell a bit short with. There were also some outdoor cantilever seating areas, which really made you feel like you were dining in the jungle. The buffet here was truly one of the better ones that I've come across. First of all, the sheer number of cooks and chefs behind the buffet, ready to serve and replenish, was, I think, unrivaled. And that level of staffing came through in the presentation, the quality, and the diversity of dishes on offer. I've talked about before how some buffets just seem to be all about aesthetics, just tchotchkes spread out everywhere. Here was aesthetics, but it was all just actual good food. In addition to all of that, there was also a small a la carte menu, which I sampled a few things from. There were also staff walking around the restaurant, passing some small bites of different items. My avocado toast on thick-cut sourdough and my French toast were both top-notch at around 9 out of 10 combined. Overall, for their quality, variety, and just painstaking attention to detail, this is what a 10 looks like. As you know, I never film inside kids clubs and just show from the outside if and when I think it can be done appropriately. Gotta say though, this is one of the more impressive kids clubs that I've seen before, from the outside at least. As we take a look at the fitness center and have a stroll around, let me wrap this up, as if you didn't already know what I thought. While I was here, I, hand on heart, did not know how much the villas were. $400 to $500 for the base rooms tells my content creator math mind that there was no reason to look at the prices of the villas when I was booking. But while I was here, I had the same thought a few times. I'm going to come back for at least 3 nights, and I'm going to stay in one of the pool villas, because I know no matter what they're charging, it's gonna be worth the price. To family, to friends, to Patreons, I have been recommending Langkawi in general, but specifically this and one other resort on the island nearly non-stop. I will be back, my wallet will be crying, and it will be worth it. If this isn't 100 out of 100, then I really don't know what is. They deliver. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this beautiful resort tour today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe for 2 new videos each week, as well as 3 more Langkawi resort reviews coming up. I'll see you next time from Delhi for the start of what I honestly think is the most exciting full 12 months, yes, 12 months of trip reports. As always, thanks for watching until the end. Visiting the Datai in Langkawi is kind of like seeing a mythical creature in real life. You've heard about it, you've imagined what it could look like, but you never imagined that it actually existed. There are so many reasons to love the Datai, and I'm going to get into all of them in this full resort tour. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, and some of the not so best, airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for the past 4 years. Check out my 400 videos, scan the QR code or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. This unicorn of a resort tour begins now. As we drive to the Datai on the northwest shore of Langkawi, I want to preface this review with just 2 things. First of all, you already saw the score, right? A perfect 100 out of 100. This is my 400th video, and only my 6th ever perfect score. I'll explain why I think the Datai deserves this, but I just need to point out that Langkawi, this small island off the western coast of Malaysia in the Andaman Sea, now holds 1/3 of my perfect scores, since just last month, I awarded the Ritz Carlton Langkawi a perfect score as well. If that's not an indication that this island is doing something right, I don't know what is. The second thing that I really just want to point out here is the setting. The best way I can do this is to show you the Google Earth image of 8 of my favorite resorts in Southeast Asia. These are 8 resorts that I love, so there is nothing that I'm criticizing in any of them. Look at the images. Does anything stand out to you? Most likely not. Now let's look at the image of the Datai. Anything different? How about now? One of the most impressive and frankly extraordinary things about the Datai is that it is not a beach resort. It is a rainforest resort that happens to be on a beach. The majority of the villas, no, all of the villas actually, are within this dense canopy here. The Datai is named for its namesake bay, and some believe the word comes from the combination of Dai and Tai, roughly meaning the possibility to be free. It's fitting. Originally opened in 1993, the Datai was Langkawi's, some would say Malaysia's, first luxury resort, and it put Langkawi on the map. Entering the reception area, guests are greeted with what is surely the best service on the island, along with 2 150-year-old solid teak horses, which were found in what sounds like quite the flea market in Mumbai. Designed by famed architect Carey Hill, with design support from Didier Lefort, the main building we see here was built 40 meters above sea level and set back 300 meters from the beach, with the intention of both preserving the coastline and immersing guests in this 10-million-year-old rainforest. Beyond the water feature, we have the lobby lounge with a sunken bar where your check-in experience will take place. This is the 3rd resort that I'm presenting on the island. The first 2 both specifically call out the fact that they're designed to be kampongs, or traditional villages. The Datai, in its endless and thoughtful literature, doesn't mention any such fact, but in reality, it's the most authentically laid out of them all, truly built within the rainforest. The resort closed for a year from September of 2017 for a full refurbishment of all rooms and areas, led by one of the original designers, Didier Lefort himself, bringing the property and its 121 rooms and villas into the modern age, with a design language that lands somewhere between a secluded mountain lodge and a traditional Malay community. As we have a look around and head down one level to the pool, let me explain about the mythical creature that exists within the Datai: sustainability. I hope this doesn't offend anyone, it's not meant to, but the fact of the matter is, the vast majority, no, all but a very select few, of resorts and hotels who speak about sustainability initiatives are serving up some ultra-luxurious BS with a glass straw. This is not to say that there are not helpful, planet-friendly initiatives that each and every business in the industry can take, but the ones that frame themselves as eco-resorts are typically just trying to tell you that their AC doesn't work too well and you're not going to get your sheets changed every day. Either way though, whether you agree with me or not, the Datai stands out from the pack in ways that I'd never seen before. From their food programs, to nature reserves, to on-site permaculture gardens, to on-site water plants, repurposing and replanting with intent, I could never cover the full breadth of their initiatives in a 30-minute video. Case in point, this is their traditional Thai restaurant over here, open for dinner, the Pavilion. The restaurant is built on 30-meter stilts, which were crafted from the carrowing trees which were needed to be cut down in order to build the head house here. They serve food from their own garden. In a literal sense, they try to cover their bases from top to bottom. If you're interested to read more about this, I'd invite you to go to their website, the Datai Pledge, where they release an incredibly detailed yearly impact report, which they began doing in 2018. They focus on 4 pillars: regenerating the environment and community through sustainable operations, conserving marine life with sustainable fishing, regenerating the rainforest around them, and finally, educating the next generation through environmental programs. The Datai is essentially a non-corporate, fully immersive, 6 senses on steroids, but the good kind of steroids, as in, the Datai is not going to ask you to find your own eggs. Hand on heart, resort stays like this truly would not be possible without your support on Patreon. Hotel videos and flight videos simply earn money in very different ways on YouTube. So if you appreciate these kinds of unsponsored videos, please consider checking out my Patreon page. You can also help the channel continue to grow by liking this video and subscribing to the channel, or joining my YouTube channel memberships. Whatever you do though, thanks for doing it. From the pool area and head house, we head down 278 steps made from local chert and shale, and head to the Butterfly Walk. There is, of course, also buggy service throughout the property, which you're wise to use because in addition to these stairs, there are some steep freaking hills here. Before we get any further though, let's look at where we are. Langkawi is a 99-island archipelago north of Penang and south of Phuket. We're on the largest of the islands in the far northwest of it. If you enjoy rainforest and jungle settings, this is the part of the island you really want to be in. It is truly unspoiled and is as lush and thick as you can imagine. It's rare to find such a dense, beautiful setting like this that is not 6 flights and 12 hours away from the closest civilization. The Butterfly Walk connects the base of the head house stairs with the beach club, passing through the rainforest and over a stream, with the spa located just in the middle of it. The Datai is an independent hotel, and that makes it all the more impressive in my opinion. In many regards, frankly, but especially when it comes to service. It is pure white glove service, but without even the slightest hint of pretense. You'll find yourself having natural, unscripted conversations with every single member of staff that you encounter, from buggy drivers to the front office staff to the servers and more, but they're also perceptive, so if that's not your thing, that's not going to happen. That service, though, is backed up with what just turned out to be really thoughtful and anticipatory design. And here we are, coming to the beach area, which has a family pool along with a kids pool tucked away in the corner. In front of the pool is the beach bar, and to the side is the beach club, which serve up lunch and dinner daily. This clip was filmed early in the morning, and I found it especially impressive how well set up and free of debris everything was, because overnight we had truly and wonderfully torrential downpours, which I'd imagine had this entire place littered with leaves and foliage. High tide and low tide are quite the extremes here. This being high tide, and this being low. On the side, there's a fitness center, and on the opposite side of the beach, there's also an eco center where you can arrange nature walks, talks, and the like. I'd suggest you check out their website for details. There's honestly just too much to include in the video. Okay, now let's go head to my room. I hesitantly booked a quote-unquote room category assigned at check-in rate through Agoda, since it was significantly cheaper than anywhere else. And so when I checked in, I was shocked and delighted that they'd allocated me a villa. Some of the villas are more private than others. If you're booking one of them outright, I would suggest specifically asking not to be directly next to the stone bridge. They'll know what you mean. Buggies go over this bridge all day, and while the buggies themselves are near silent, that cobblestony bridge each time something drives over it is not silent. As far as the overall setting goes, I mean honestly, I couldn't imagine my villa being better. It's a rare occasion on my part to be working a 12-hour day editing these videos, watching the video, and actually being calmed down by it. The villas and the rooms share the same design language, the rooms being in the wings near the head house, and they really don't leave you wanting for anything. The interiors are as warm as they are fresh, and things are just absolutely spotless. I'll put up the extra bits as we look around. You all know this, but I can't tell you how often light-colored fabrics like this just look worn after a few years. And it's not even necessarily because they're dirty, but you can just tell. There is a pride in the level of upkeep and cleanliness here. The room has 2 desks, almost as if I designed it myself. You'll notice that throughout the room there is an impressive amount of literature about everything from their food programs, their own magazine, an activities brochure, spa menu, and the hallmark of it all, their wooden-bound impact report. And I would just note that everything was current. It's not like these were yearly things. All of it, besides the yearly impact report, was put out on a weekly or a monthly basis. One detail I particularly loved were the wooden shutters, which could cover every little window within the villa for absolute privacy. Stunning is not a word I often use to describe minibar setups, but this one was just, it felt special and bespoke. The bathroom was equally beautiful. I'm not saying they should join any hotel group. They're doing just fine on their own. But this place, I think, could fit in perfectly as a high-end Alila or like part of an Unbound collection. The only places in the room which were ever so slightly below the standard that they set for themselves were the small rooms for the shower and the toilet. This is high-end nitpicking, but when you create an absolutely flawless and beautiful accommodation with natural materials, lining these two rooms with fake marble tile just sticks out like a sore thumb. The incredible bathrobes and clever flip-flops, though, made up for that cheap tile. Last up, we have the wonderful covered balcony where I sat for hours at night. And by sat, I might mean fell asleep, listening to the beautiful rain. Cameras do not allow for great depth perception, so it's near impossible for me to just tell you how steep some of the switchbacks are here, so rather, just follow me for 20 seconds. Here, you can see my villa. Let's walk for a little bit. And there's my villa up there. Like 20 seconds of baby steps, and you're all the way down here. Okay, dinner time. You have 4 choices for dinner. The dining room, which is next to the main pool, we'll see that for breakfast. The other two restaurants that I showed you already, or the Gulai House, which is especially secluded and away from all of the villas. Serving up Malaysian food, the structure is open air and built in the style of a traditional kampong stilt house with matching decor. This meal was incredible. I was brought some reading materials on the dining program. And let me just say this as an aside, the amount of literature that they write about themselves, I would generally be the first one to look at all of it and think, oh god, they are full of themselves. But it's really not. They just want you to be immersed in the experience, and this is one way of them doing it. For starters, I had the Kerabu Mempalam Ikan Renggup, young mango salad with local greens and spices served with crispy red snapper. The salad itself could have used a little bit more zing, but it was delicious. That red snapper, though, was the star of the show. So delicate and perfectly spiced. 8.7 out of 10. For my main, the opposite of delicate. I had the, deep breath, signature Itik Serati Gulai Kawa Jundur Kampung traditional Kedahan duck curry with fresh winter melon. Winter melon being one of the world's most underrated ingredients in my opinion. That was an incredible curry. It was served with the rice of the day, which was as colorful as it was flavorful. That bowl was scraped clean, 9.6 out of 10. For dessert, glutinous rice flour with grated young coconut, sweet corn, coconut ice cream, and crispy coconut crackers. Loved this. It was almost a savory dessert on the bottom, and the balance with the ice cream was perfect, 9.4 out of 10. After that, I had a walk around and headed to the lounge for a drink overlooking the pool. Their list of signature cocktails were all crafted with local ingredients in mind. If you'd believe me, this is morning. Time to head to breakfast. This is the dining room. On offer was a full buffet along with a supplemental a la carte menu. Overall, I would say the breakfast is as good as it gets without knocking my socks off, which translates to a strong 8. I think I've said it all, so I'll just leave you with what I mentioned to the front office supervisor when I was checking out. This is the first independent, sustainability-focused luxury resort that I've ever been to who walked the walk and talked the talk. As you know, being environmentally friendly is a broad spectrum. Eliminating single-use plastics from your hotel and nothing else, hey, it does do something and I'm not knocking it in the slightest. But to find a resort of this caliber, which has been here for 30 years, that is truly a part of the rainforest is simply uplifting. On the other side of that, I know there are plenty of people that simply don't feel the need to engage with these things on vacation, and you need to do what makes you happy. But for that guest as well, it will simply be a beautiful vacation here. They have found the balance. Why? Why do I think at least? I think it's because they're doing all of this for the right reasons. So I think to them, it doesn't really matter if a guest appreciates every minutia or not. They know why they're doing it. They know the impact they can have. It's not for show. Speaking of Langkawi in broader terms, could I argue that the Ritz-Carlton is more luxurious? Has service nearly as good? Has food which is as good? Yes, yes, and yes. And so I'd say, if you visit Langkawi, you just need to visit both. In a slightly different way from the Ritz-Carlton, this is also what 100 out of 100 looks like. So I truly do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time on Iberia Express from Marrakesh. As always, thanks for watching until the end. I was pretty hopeful heading into today's flight. Iberia has had, let's say, an inconsistent past, but in the last years I've read some pretty great experiences on the airline. I just had this feeling that based on the recent passenger experience investments that they've been making, that Iberia might just be the dark horse of the European airline industry. But I was wrong, because the phrase dark horse doesn't come close to doing this flight justice. Of the 281 flights in the past few years that I've had, if I could replicate the experience of just one of them, over and over and over, it would be this one. And I was as surprised to be typing that as you are to hearing it. By the way, did you know that my videos are simply my opinions and my opinions alone? And if we had exactly the same opinions, it would probably be a little bit weird. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best and some of the not so best airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. Let's get to the airport. We're now heading to Madrid Barajas International Airport, Terminal 4, the newest of the terminals in Madrid, originally opened for service in 2006. This is one of those airports where you really want to make sure that you get dropped off at the correct terminal, since Terminal 4 is around 3 kilometers north of the other 3 terminals. If you're flying Iberia though, you always know it's going to be T4. I already knew this going into this flight, but Terminal 4 is my personal favorite terminal on Earth for its design. In every direction, at every angle, it's warm yet futuristic, bright and welcoming, and simply gorgeous to look at. Designed by RSHP and Estudio Lamela, ironically also in part the designer of Heathrow Terminal 5, one of my least favorite terminals, the terminal was designed to, quote-unquote, humanize the airport experience. That, I know, sounds like a lot of wishy-washy, flowery corporate talk. But in real terms, it was just meant to make the terminal a place that you didn't mind being at, perhaps even a place that you enjoyed being at. From the original sketches to the final product, its signature waves, skylights, gradient color pillars, and bamboo ceilings make for one of the modern masterpieces of the airport world. Stroll around a bit and you'll find the Iberia check-in counters, and this is actually where your journey begins. You see, Terminal 4 is split into two parts. The primary terminal head house, where we are now, where everyone checks in. This is where all of the domestic and Schengen zone flights leave from. You can see it here. Then down over here, you can see Terminal 4S, the satellite where all of the non-Schengen flights depart from. The problem, as many people will identify, is that it takes quite a while to get there in the best of times, with the airport's own signage admitting to a 23-minute schlep via a series of escalators and a train ride. Once you're in the satellite, that's where you'll pass through exit immigration, and then finally you'll be released into the terminal proper. I find few faults with this airport, except perhaps the Iberia Lounge entrance, which is within the duty-free store and very easy to miss if you're not paying attention. The lounge does tend to get crowded, but from my experience, the crowding is generally on the left side when you enter. It's a huge space. Just head down to the other end and you'll likely find open tables and chairs. The lounge has a nice spread of food and drinks on offer and its own bar. While it's not the best lounge on earth, I really have no reason to fault it. Lots of seats, comfortable ones, good food, views of the planes, it ticks my boxes. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps the video with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon where I post the most and can help you out with any travel related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Iberia has a long history dating back to 1927, and they currently operate as 3 entities under the Iberia name. Iberia proper, which we're flying today, Iberia Regional, operated by Air Nostrum for their short and thin routes, and Iberia Express, which I recently covered in a video from Marrakesh. Altogether, they have 154 aircraft which service one of Europe's most comprehensive route maps across the Atlantic, to North, Central, and South America. One of the few airlines that surpasses their transatlantic destinations would be British Airways, who is their sister airline, both operating under International Airlines Group since their merger in 2011. When I headed to the gate, I thought I had the time wrong since it appeared we were boarding already, but that was just the flight to Caracas, whose gate literally could not be closer. Iberia was the little publicized launch customer of the A350-900 NPS, which stands for New Production Standard. The benefit of these new birds are that the cabin interiors at armrest level are around 4 inches wider than previous A350s, which was accomplished by sculpting the interior walls. 4 inches doesn't sound like a lot, but just that little bit of wiggle room made for what is generally thought of as a bit of a tight business class seat to feel all the more spacious. Let's get on board and I'll give you the full tour. The cabins are smart looking and mostly neutral, with a few pops of Iberia red. Some say the cabins feel bland, and I can understand that, but since it's a warm sand gray and not something very cool, I thought it was really nice on board. Without overhead bins in the middle, the cabin feels really nice and open and airy as well. These seats are very similar to the ones that I showed from Air France's A350 flight, though here on Iberia they're outfitted with doors and benefit from that extra inch or so per seat. The seats don't have loads of storage, but I think it's sufficient with the open counter, a space for a water bottle or amenity kit, and then the closed compartment behind, which is actually quite a bit larger than it seems. Unfortunately, there's no room under the footrest, but at least it's far enough away that it's not forcing you to sit with your legs bent at an angle, like on my Eat Airways flight. Pre-departure beverages were passed around, including a selection of kava and a few other soft drinks. I'll talk about the service more in a bit, but I need to say that without a doubt the service on this flight is what made it so good, and it was pretty clear from early on that it would be good service. In my experience, the two things that are always, all caps always, true when service is fantastic is number one, the purser is very present and interactive with passengers, and number two, the crew clearly enjoys their job. There's a lightness to them that enhances their service. The safety briefing began and we pushed back, getting ready for our 10 or so hour flight to Mexico City. Prior to pushback, the purser introduced herself and took orders for the primary meal from the entire cabin. I've never said this before and frankly never really thought about it, but if ever there was a purser on one of my flights that saw my video, I hope it's this one. I don't show crew close-ups or identify them in videos, so I'll just say that she had very piercing aquamarine eyes. Just moments after we took off, hot towels were passed around. 14 minutes after airborne, the drinks carts began rolling down the aisles. Well, not rolling, but you know. While they take a few moments to get to me, let's take a look at some of the comfort items on board today. First up, a very clever format. This is the mattress topper, which comes rolled up so you can use it as a lumbar or underthigh support pillow. I always enjoy killing two birds with one stone with this type of thing. The pillow, I will quote from my notes, quote, "Best pillow that I've had in a very long time," unquote. The pillow was not only a great size, but was truly a premium top quality pillow. When you check into a Park Hyatt or a Four Seasons, this is the kind of pillow you'll be hoping to go to sleep with. Last up, the duvet style blanket, which was soft and a really good size to cover you even fully in full flat mode. When the carts got down to me, I decided to try the sakoli and was asked if I'd like almonds or cheese and anchovy stuffed olives. My answer, as I hope yours would be, was both please. I thought it was a small and elegant touch that these were scooped when ordered. I'm not sure why that feels so much more premium than a ramekin that they just portioned in the galley, but it does. The drink carts also passed a second time before the meal began. Just after leaving the Iberian Peninsula behind, the meal service began. Here's the full menu. Note that the red prices on the wine list are just my addition to the graphic to give you an idea of what the bottle might cost on the ground. Of course, they're free to drink on board. For the starter, I chose roast beef with sweet corn, red peppers, tomatoes, and a creamy avocado tartare, garnished with fresh cilantro. Running beef juices aside, this was delicious and makes me wonder why more airlines don't serve starters like this, or perhaps sliced veal. It's always going to be a hit every single time, 9.2 out of 10. And you know I always enjoy a bit of sanctioned tableware theft. For my main, I had the pan-seared chicken breast in a spiced tomato sauce, served with saffron-infused couscous and sautéed spinach. First, it's pretty hard to design a presentation that will stay in place on board exactly as it's meant to be, so bravo for presentation. Second, this is a deceptively deep dish. It's actually quite a large portion, and third, it was everything that you would want from a chicken breast dish on the ground. I say on the ground because in the air, almost always chicken will be dry, but not today. This was moist and flavorful. Overall, a 9.4 out of 10. For dessert, a homemade tocinillo de cielo served with cream, followed up with a decent coffee, and a Johnny Walker of, take a guess of which color? Blue. Iberia Business Class serves Blue Label. I was genuinely shocked to see that on the menu. I thought I was in the wrong place. After that, it was time for a bit of rest and relaxation. The entertainment on board is fairly comprehensive and displayed on a bright and responsive screen, and it has the latest generation moving map as well. Messaging Wi-Fi is free for business and €3.50 for everyone else. Full Wi-Fi was a reasonable €13.50. Back to the meal service for a minute. It was very similar to some other European airlines in its format, but it was just done so well. It was elevated. That wine I had, I've never heard about it. The crew could speak to it off the top of their head. There was, I swear, a snippet of conversation with every single passenger at each stage of the service. And as I mentioned, the purser was in the aisles nearly the entire time serving alongside her crew. They were just all so freaking pleasant and efficient. Iberia to me is proof that you don't need to be over the top and fancy, serving course by course meals and doing all these extra things, which of course, in some circumstances are great, but you don't need to do all of that to give a great experience. As for the lie flat bed, it was more than comfortable and would make for a great rest if needed. Personally, I don't sleep on daytime westbound flights, but I would have done so pretty easily if I had. One dumb moment, apparently I never filmed the door, which is just sufficiently tall enough to make for a private feel when you're lying down. They're taller than BA's suite doors, but not quite as tall as the likes of Q suites. I love the simple Iberia branding on the amenity kits, and also the same subtle red and yellow stripes, sometimes not so subtle, that you'll see on the cabin crew's uniforms. This probably all goes back to my love for their old livery, especially on the A340-600. As for the kit itself, it had a really nice premium eye mask and all of the other basics that you would need. The bathrooms were minimalist, but spotless throughout the flight. Around 80 minutes before landing, a time frame that I think is just about right, a light meal was served. On offer was an oxtail pie along with roasted red peppers, cut fruit, and crackers. The tray may not look like much, but oxtail pies along with calamari sandwiches are the two things that I always make time for in Madrid, so I was more than delighted to see it served on board. The pastry was flaky, no soggy bottoms, and the filling was rich and unctuous. Easily a 9.5 out of 10. So another airline that I've given a perfect score to in business class was EVA Air. And yes, it's true the experiences could not be more different. Totally different service style, service flow, amenities on board, type of food, etc., etc. But I can appreciate both of them just as much. But personally, if I had to experience it with frequency, I would choose today's flight. Sometimes the formality and fine-tuned service is incredible to experience. But sometimes you just want a comfortable seat, great food, and a friendly crew. I was gonna say, I don't want to put them at a 10 since this is just my first flight with them on Iberia proper. So I'll put them at a 9. But I think that's exactly the kind of review tempering that I try to avoid with my price relative scoring. So for the ranking, I'll go with my gut and put them at a 10. Y'all can argue about it in the comments until the cows come home, but this was a near perfect flight. Not to mention, Iberia is the only European airline that consistently has one-way business class fares available to purchase with Avios from 30 to 50,000 points across the Atlantic. That is a steal. I just wish they'd expand to Asia a bit. I hate to make everything Bangkok, 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 but they need to fly to Bangkok. A clear and beautiful view into Mexico City is coming up. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this wonderful flight with me today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my weekly flight and resort reviews. I'll see you next time for a double flight report on Copa Airlines. As always, thanks for watching until the end.